Good morning, everyone, and welcome to day 2 of our 4th week of virtual learning. So yesterday, you were able to read a couple of narratives and kind of break it down and find out the characters, the plots, things like that, the conflicts. Today, I'm going to share with you my narrative. Now, the reason for doing that is one, I want you to see just how much figurative language I put in this narrative. I want you to understand that it did not start that way. When I sat down to write my narrative about something memorable that happened in my life, I basically just started with telling my story. I added in some dialogue, so it would be basically if I was telling it to my friend. Then I went back and I added tons of figurative language and I started to become descriptive with it. And I just kept adding and adding and adding to it. So when you start this narrative, don't get bogged down by the fact that, oh my gosh, I don't have this and I don't have figurative language. That's not the concern right now. The concern we're going to start with is first just getting the idea, because we're going to start with 2 ideas and then narrow down. Then starting tomorrow, I will send you more information. I will give you some documents and some places that you can go to help you make it better, to really make it seem like you or myself, I guess, as I'm reading it, that I'm really there. Okay, so I'm going to just let you listen to this, but I need you to listen to this because I'm going to ask you some questions in your assignment today. I'd like you to, while you're listening, see if you can come up with either 2 total, either a simile, a metaphor, 2 metaphors, something like that, as I'm reading it. Now, if you don't know, is it a metaphor, is it a simile, I think you're going to understand as you hear it that I'm doing a lot of comparing. I'm doing a lot of saying this was like this. That's a simile. If I say something is this, like he is my rock, that's more of a metaphor. So really, essentially, I just want you to listen very closely for all of the details. And then at the end, I'm just going to ask you a couple questions. Okay. So this is mine. Enjoy. I wish I could be here in person to read it for you. This is a very true story. This totally happened to me. I have a picture to prove it. But I took something that was so painful and so life-changing, and I put it into my own narrative. Gotta put my glasses on. I recently learned what it was like to experience the most excruciating pain, the pain of 1,000 knives. It was during the summer of 1997 on a sweltering July afternoon in Redondo Beach, California. My friend Christy and I decided to go rollerblading at the beach. Although I had never been rollerblading before, I figured it could not be any different from the roller skating I had done during my grade school days down the middle of my secluded street with my 2 best friends. The rollerblades were quite shiny and very sophisticated. No problem, I thought. This will be a piece of cake. We rented the rollerblades and began our excursion on the paved walkway that cut through the sandy beach. As I started to gracefully skate down the paved trail next to the sand, I could feel the soft breeze whisk through my hair. The smell of salt from the ocean waves, along with the oil from the sunbathers nearby, was heavenly. The nostalgia of my younger years of skating was slowly coming back to me as I gracefully glided toward a small hill. And then it happened. As I got closer, I vaguely remember seeing a scruffy old man standing at the top of the hill. He said something to me as I passed by, but I was unable to decipher the senseless dribble coming out of his toothless gap. Feeling a bit embarrassed, I reached the top. It was a small hill, mind you. Okay, I reached the top and immediately started to accelerate down the hill. My heart began to beat quickly, and a sudden wave of terror shot through my veins. I felt like a runaway train careening out of control off the track. I had only remembered how to stop with old-fashioned roller skates with the rubber stopping device on the front of the skate. What do I do? What do I do? Everything happened in the blink of an eye. In an instant, and without thinking things through, I then put my front foot forward so as to stop this rapidly derailing train, but with little success. The thought never, ever, ever crossed my mind to just veer off to the sand. Rather, I plummeted to the pavement like a skydiver with a faulty parachute. The instant I hit the burning pavement, I knew I was in a serious conundrum. Intense pain seared through my body. Cuts, scrapes, and abrasions pierced my feeble tan flesh. I began to scream uncontrollably, desperate to summon anyone to come to my aid. My friend Christy was nowhere to be found. However, after hearing the shrilling screams, the lifeguards came running toward me and began to hover over me like vultures on roadkill. I was hit with a barrage of questions. Are you okay? What is your name? Are you hurt? Christy finally appeared, and she too began her own onslaught of questions as well as comments meant to make me feel better. Dawn, Dawn, I think the blonde lifeguard is hitting on you. I'm pretty sure he wants to ask you out. Now, mind you, this was many years ago. I was not married yet. I couldn't even focus on the fact that the really cute lifeguard was the David Hasselhoff of all lifeguards, perfect in every way. All I could think about was the throbbing, unimaginative pain resonating in my shoulder. I screamed like a baby as the lifeguards tried to get me to move my arm. Hearing the piercing wail of the ambulance arriving, the only words I could get out of my mouth were, drugs, drugs, please, please just give me some drugs. I don't care what it is, Advil, Tylenol, I don't care, just give me something. The long ride to the hospital seemed like an eternity, and the only thing I remember was sobbing relentlessly, telling the medics that I just wanted my mommy. When I arrived at the hospital, the doctors and nurses began to poke and prod me like a Thanksgiving turkey. They wheeled me into the x ray room, but still denied my request for any sort of remedy to take away the nightmare. Please, 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 please give me something. Give me some morphine, anything, I'll pay you. I'm seriously going to die. I will die. Just give me something. Ma'am, we must get the x ray first. Please be patient, was all the annoying, rude nurse kept repeating over and over. After the final x ray, they finally hooked me to an IV and started to intravenously give me morphine to combat the pain. I was on the edge of hysteria when the drugs took their hold. The feeling of complete tranquility took over. I had one of those little things where I could just keep pushing, and they kept coming in through my IV. After a few minutes, however, when the pain completely subsided, I was hit with a wave of extreme nausea from the morphine. The room began to spin, and I felt as if I had just stepped off the tilt-a-whirl at the local carnival. The doctor entered my room and the doctor entered my room and informed me that I had broken my clavicle bone. That's the bone right here. I had broken my clavicle bone so severely that it would require major, major surgery to repair the damage. Surgery? How can this be? I was only rollerblading, for crying out loud. Who does this much damage with stupid rollerblades? As I sat there in disbelief, wondering how I was going to get through the rest of the summer with this now debilitating news, a squirmish feeling started to brew in the pit of my stomach. It was then in a crowded room of nurses and one very attractive doctor that I turned my head and puked my guts out. Needless to say, my first time on rollerblades also ended up being my last time. Never again. Ever. Here, I don't know if you can see that, but if you can't, this is my x-ray. I actually got to keep the x-ray. I don't know if you guys could see that. This was a long time ago, 1997. I was like 23, 24. My doctor let me keep this. I've kept it for all these years. This was the screw that they had in there, and there was a pin in there. It was 2.5 inches long, and it poked out of my skin. So if this is my skin, it literally like poked out like this. This is really gross. This, me, yes, that's me. Very young. I was blind, but I had to wear that brace like that. I couldn't move it at all. It was horrible. Horrible. So that's my story. And again, you probably heard some figurative language. But again, when I first sat down to do this, I just wrote chronologically, this is what happened. Then I started putting in some of the dialogue, me talking to my friend, me talking to the nurse. That can come later. So for today, I'm going to ask you a couple questions about this. Then I'd like you to come up with 2 ideas of what you maybe would like to focus on. I've had students do like ding dong ditching. I've had students do just a prank they did on their sibling. I've had students write about just a trip going to like Great America, the actual getting from their house to the park. Remember, it can't be like a whole day. It has to be kind of a short time in your life. I've had students talk about or write about like a championship game. I can maybe give you some more examples tomorrow, but right now I just need you to start thinking of 2, and then you will pinpoint and come up with the one that you want for sure starting tomorrow. Okay, so have fun thinking about it. Don't worry again about all the other fluff that you're going to add in. That's going to come. All right, have a fabulous day, and I will talk to you tomorrow. Bye.